sounds from the rhythm underground. Welcome to the We Love Guitar Nerds podcast, your place for all things guitar. We have your interviews, we have your lessons, your boomer discussions, and your verbal rabble-rousings. So please hit subscribe, share, and like to join our constantly growing musical community. As far as I can see, there are no musical taboos in the world of today's guest and We Love Guitar at the We Love Guitar Nerds podcast, Mr. Alvin Youngblood Hart. He is the child of classic rock in the 60s and 70s, and he would later embrace whatever came his way. It could be rock, garage rock, it could be Delta blues, it could be hill country, it could be psychedelic, it could be any kind of thing that came his way that he found use for. I think that is cool. That is what I think it makes you a big have a big sound in a very very cool way. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, and basically a balanced musical diet. I like to think of it as.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just when they think they know the guy that's doing all the the old country kind of acoustic blues, then you break out the trio, and it just confuses people.
I think so. Yeah.
In a beautiful way. So let's go back to the beginning of your musical journey. So where did everything start with you?
Let's go back to the '60s. Man.
Okay.
We have to go back to the '60s, and I sort of feel like I am part of the very last of the generation to sort of be directly influenced by the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
I was much too young for the Ed Sullivan Show,
Okay.
but I was right on time for the cartoon show.
Okay.
And right on time for like the neighborhood bands who were up, three doors up the street from me playing Day Tripper and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And who used to let us come in the garage where they were rehearsing and strum on their guitars and step on the tremolo pedal of their Sears amps, and mind was blown. Ooh,
Yeah.
I mean, that's so started right there. You know how it's just that one little seed, bam, and away you go. It's like, man, I think I want to do that.
The Beatles hit, and it was like garage bands everywhere, and that was and you were part of that witness. You're a witness to all that.
Yeah. We had there were neighborhood bands back in those days. It was like, I guess, and I wasn't even playing yet. It would be another 10 years before I would really be into playing. But I guess that was like the video game of the day or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it is the kids are into now.
Mm-hmm. So when did you get your first guitar?
Well, like I think my first sort of little instrument was a Bugs Bunny ukulele with a little wind-up music box inside of it that played some kind of Looney Tune or something. And I broke all the strings off of that and put some rubber bands on there and still strum on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 1970, I really wanted to get into the guitar thing, and I was 7 then, and so my parents got me this little like kind of toy guitar thing. It was plastic. It looked like some kind of offset Fender thing
Mm-hmm.
with uh it was just molded plastic, like 60s plastics.
Yeah.
The cool thing about it was the amp that came with it, which I wish I still had now.
Cardboard amp.
Yeah, it was this cardboard amp that ran off a 6-volt Lannon battery that had this big microphone with suction cups on it.
Yeah.
That was hardwired into the amp that just stuck on the back of this solid body plastic guitar. Actually got some good overdrive to it, as I remember.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, man, I wish I really still had that amp. 6-volt lantern batteries. So I got that for Christmas in 1970, and I used to watch TV show. I remember it was very well because Christmas of 1970 was on a weekend, and I remember that weekend watching Lance Link's Secret Chimp. And I don't know if you're familiar with that or not.
No.
Okay, well, it was a kids show with chimpanzees who were like part of this anti-espionage organization, right? And and of course they had all these like code names. The leader of the organization was named Darwin.
Okay.
Get your head around that, right? Darwin. So that's how it was. But anyway, these anti-espionage spy got whatever. They had an undercover sort of alter ego. They had a band. The band name was the Evolution Revolution.
Wow.
So they dressed these chimpanzees up. You gotta check it out. They dressed these chimpanzees up like Sly and the Family Stone and gave them some guitars and keyboards and stuff and let them go. And so I'm like, man, if these chimps can do it, so can I.
I was gonna say, I wonder if those words, like, if we were allowed to use those words now, like, for a band name, the
Oh yeah,
Evolution Revolution, Alvin
yeah,
Youngblood Hart's Evolution Revolution.
yeah, right. Well, I could do a tribute to the Evolution Revolution, man.
Yeah,
So that was an early influence. The Banana Splits were an early influence.
that
I mean,
now I'm remembering the banana
oh,
splits. I'm a little younger, so it was basically rollers for me, but
yeah, yeah, all that kind of stuff. So I still really didn't learn anything on the guitar. I broke strings. My oldest brother was already playing by then. Stuff.
mhm.
He's 9 years older than me, so he's a bass player. He was already playing by then. So he would kind of come over, and tune up our guitar, and then whatever. But so that was I kind of consider things. I had a bunch of false starts, I'll say. So that was kind of a false start. Um, when I was about 9 years old, some door-to-door salesman came to the door and was selling guitar lessons, actually.
All right.
So I answered the door and basically told him we don't want any. So he was walking away. So my brother Rick, who's 6 years older than me, asked me, "Who is that?" I said, "Oh, some guy selling guitar lessons." So he ran out there and stopped him and was like, "Hey, what are you selling?" So my brother got the spiel and got the parental approval to sign up for these lessons.
Okay.
So with the lessons, they just gave you like some cheap plywood acoustic guitar to start off on.
Yeah.
So my brother starts these lessons and goes on for a while. This must have been in the fall because Christmas time came along. My parents bought my brother a better cheap plywood acoustic guitar.
Hmm.
So I inherited the one from the lessons.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Christmas Day, this must have been, I guess it was around 73. Uh, our great uncle Reuben comes over for breakfast early that morning, and gets breakfast and sees my brother's new guitar, so he picks it up and I don't know, starts turning the tuning gears and listen, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And he tunes it to like some open chord and starts doing, like some John Lee Hooker kind of thing.
Okay.
And my brother and myself were just,
What the heck had just happened?
what? Yeah. yeah. What is this before us?
Yes,
And why
this is
why
great.
did our uncle just become 20 times cooler than he was, you know?
Yeah,
And so that was a thing, man, major,
that was a
major,
spark. That
man.
was a
Like,
spark.
ooh, I mean, you don't get to see people do that,
Yeah,
and
let
and
alone
this
a
guy
relative.
was our blood relative, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was another seed, and I had a little false start there, and then another one when I was 11. I was watching Hee Haw, and Roy Clark took like a jelly jar, empty drinking jar or something, and
Good.
started playing
Okay.
slide on it. Right?
Yeah.
So I went in the kitchen and got a jelly jar and started playing slide on it, and wow, this is kind of cool. Let me keep this in mind, you know.
Yeah.
And so I, went along till I broke off more strings and kind of put the guitar down and picked up the baseball bat more often,
Hmm.
uh, until I had got, I guess, around first year of high school. I had some friends, Frampton Comes Alive was all the rage by then.
Hmm.
And I had a couple of buddies who, one, I think maybe inherited his older sister's guitar from when, like, the period of his older sister and her friends trying to be Joni Mitchell and
Hmm.
stuff. So he kind of got her guitar, another one got it. So then it became like the three of us guys. That definitely became like the video game for these
Yeah.
teenage boys of 1977, 78.
All right.
And it just became like a thing where, hey man, do you know this? It'd be like, like Iron Man or something like that. It's like, no, how's it go?
People don't
And
realize how different the world is now.
oh yeah, no hot licks videos,
Yeah,
none of
we're not
that or
even
whatever.
that. They were Hot Licks is like 1987, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's archaic in itself, but yeah,
There's no you can't go to the internet, you can't go to YouTube
no,
to
no,
look how to play that chord or what how to play a slide or whatever.
no, yeah, no, man. It was
So when you
really, hey, man, do
at
you
this
know this?
when you
And if we were lucky, there might have been like some cool older dude who would like maybe show us something else. But
Mhm.
back in those days too, it was kind of like I don't think people gave up the secrets
Yeah, yeah,
easily.
yeah.
You didn't learn the secrets easily, and you
You're
didn't
not gonna
even
give
give
it
them
up,
up.
yeah. Yeah. So what were you
So
listening
it cut.
to in high school? Like what was
Um,
your jam?
well, I was a Zeppelin guy since grade school, pretty much. So Zeppelin, Hendrix, Montrose, kind of thing, the Stones, Thin Lizzy, mostly, all that kind of thing. Um, and my mom turned me on to Jimmy Reed when I was about 9 years old. So all those kind of things. I mean, Jimmy Reed was one of the sort of starter things. Anyway, I have a friend who said, "Well, if you can't play Jimmy Reed, then you suck." So, uh, that uh, so that was pretty much it there. And it's just kind of
So you get the,
started me on the
what do you
path.
you get these guitar lessons like in high school? There was a guitar class in high school?
Yeah, yeah. My first high school in California. I went to three high schools, three time zones. So my first high school out in California had a guitar class taught by the women's girls chorus teacher or something. So it was cool because I learned a G chord, C chord, D chord, E chord, all that stuff. Learn your chords, first position chords,
Mhm.
and um,
Cowboy chords.
it 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 really opened up doors, man. Like uh, I can't say. I mean, I just start strumming and learning to sing and play at the same time. I was like, before I was like, how the hell do the Beatles sing and play at the same, like that? But
Were you always
uh,
a singer?
no, well, not really. That's a funny thing too. I never. thought about it much. It was the thing I did back in the fifth grade just to get out of class because I wasn't really fond of my fifth grade teacher. So, they had sort of like auditions for this for the school chorus,
Mhm.
and I went and auditioned and I got in. So that was something I did in the fifth and sixth grade, but I didn't think about think about myself as a singer. And once I started playing the guitar, I thought I didn't think about being this. I just wanted to be like Jimmy Page, man. Just
Yeah.
uh, Paul Kossoff kind of thing,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Just somebody else be the singer, like the front man kind of guy,
Mhm.
whatever. But as things, actually, I started off just trying to be the bass player because my brother played bass, so I thought it was something cool,
Mhm.
and
Is this the
which I
same
did.
brother that got the guitar lessons?
No, no,
Okay.
no. This is my oldest brother actually
Okay.
is the bass player. So I kind of started off on bass, but the guys in the first little band we put together, that were supposed to be playing guitar, didn't uh, know the stuff as fast as I did, or whatever. So I would always be changing and saying, "Hey, this goes like this, goes like whatever." So then sooner or later, I just kind of switched over. You know, and, although I still like to play bass a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So who was the band Critical Mass?
Oh, these were some kids I met in Illinois. This was my final high school, and these were some kids I met in Illinois, man, through a Frank Marino record, a rare Frank Marino record that I had that they didn't have. So they were like, "Hey, man, can we tape that?" And I was like, "Yeah." So they're like, "Well, come over, and so I went over, and was checking out their gear and stuff. And this kid had a three pickup Les Paul custom. Nobody, I never seen nothing like that before. This kid had a three pickup Les Paul custom, and by then I think by then I had sort of got a Stratocaster, a real Stratocaster,
Okay.
set like 79. I think uh, my parents sort of felt bad about the fact that I was changing high schools every year and stuff, and I was getting ready to graduate, so turn 18. So they decided it was going to be my 18th birthday graduation. Uh,
It was a Stratocaster.
set set me on a path. So I got the Stratocaster my senior year in high school. So yeah, so I go over to these kids' house and checking out the gear and stuff. And they're like, "Hey, man, just come over. Come over and play sometime." So spring break, I think it was 80, 81 or something. Spring break, we just spent the whole week. And so, like, other kids were like going places, doing spring break stuff. We just spent the whole week
In the
playing
garage.
music. Yeah,
That's
playing
wonderful.
music. Their parents let us play till 10 o'clock. So we just
That was some of the first people you've played with. That
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, these were the first kids that I knew that could really keep it together and could play almost like a real set and stuff.
Mhm,
So I was real impressed by that,
mhm.
which is funny because for them, I was the first person they knew who like played slide guitar and stuff like that and everything. So
So you were moving
we had
around.
had a lot of fun.
You moved
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
You were like born in Oakland, and then you've gone, but you have roots also in Mississippi.
Oh yeah.
And then would you go back home to Mississippi? Did you ever spend a long time, long periods
Oh
there?
yeah, we go there quite a bit back when my grandma was still alive and stuff. We were always going there. That was always our best times. It was better than for us. It was better than going to Disneyland or any of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So so I grew quite attached to that place. You know, my family home. It's where my parents live now. You know, family home there. Um, but yeah, we as a teenager we moved around quite a bit just due to my parents' job situation. You know, better offer, come up here, boom, gone. You know,
Hmm.
so
What was the
that's
music
how.
like? What music did you discover when you went back,
Back where?
like the Mississippi?
Well, I mean, you know, there wasn't too. The funny thing is, like, you know, where my people are from, their music was not looked upon with like, you know, huge favor. Musicians were ne'er do well kind of people, you know.
Huh?
Like my mom's family were all farmers and like uh,
Okay.
serious farmers and church people and all that kind of thing. So um, basically, you know, musicians were dancers with the devil, um,
Okay.
and which was okay, you know. But yeah, I did sort of like hear the name Charlie Patten for the first time when I was about 13 between a conversation between my brother Rick and one of our uncles, and that whet my curiosity to the point where I had to go to the library and check out the record and see what that was all about. You know,
Hmm.
that was kind of mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now this when did you start you tell the story about that time that you were learning this song over and over again when you were about this tall.
Yeah, right.
The was it is that Charlie Patton?
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
were working on this as a teenager?
Yeah, I'm probably my late teens. You know, where I really started to that going to the library thing was big. Checking out records. You know, so
That's what we
I
did.
would check.
That's what we did
Yeah,
before we
internet
yeah,
before internet.
the
Yeah.
internet, yeah.
So yeah, we had some friends. You know, go to the library, skip school, check out some records, and I sort of parallel developed that acoustic stuff with, you know, with all the with the Zeppelin and Humble Pie and all that. It's all it all kind of parallel developed. You know, I never, which was funny because I mean um, that was that was part of the Jimmy Page influence because you know to develop the proficiency as it is on acoustic guitar and electric guitar or whatever, you know. So that was my way of, of
Yeah.
doing that. You know.
So when you moved to Chicago, was there any part of that whole music scene that really opened you up?
Yeah, I mean, one thing, just because there was so much going on, I was still young, so I couldn't really get in clubs and stuff much, you know. So I had to like go to festivals,
Yeah.
real big concerts or something, or every now and then, you know, there'd be some kind of deal where college, like I saw Muddy Waters play at the community college, you know, thing like that.
Yeah.
Um, and that, you know, that was big eye opener.
Yeah.
But the thing was too, like at that point in time, was I felt like there was a big appreciation among the youth of the people like Muddy and all those guys who were still around at that point in time, you know, um, which which was really cool and inspiring. That
Yes.
you know the young people were still embracing that stuff at that point in time.
Hmm. All the stuff that we listened to,
Yeah,
all the bands that you mentioned, if you trace their roots, the blues is a
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
absolutely. So you after high school, what did you do after high school?
After high school, I went to I went to local community college for a little bit and just did nothing. I worked at UPS. I was a teenage teamster.
Okay.
Um, worked at UPS for a good bit. Uh, And yeah, man, I just sort of what I don't know, just kind of bummed around a little bit, working. We're always working some kind of job, as teamster. I was steel worker for a while, um, and for a couple of years, and that was still good guitar buying time. You could still buy good guitars, man. Back in those days, I remember getting my first National with my tax return
Mm-hmm.
for like $400.
Okay.
Like a 1930s National,
Which is worth how much now?
4,000 or
Okay.
something probably. My first telly was a '59 Lake Placid telly. I remember buying that for about $6 or something. Maybe '57 Strat, the same. All the stuff like that you could still get. You um, so I did just that stuff for a while, and then about age 22, 23, I decided to go in the Coast Guard, just looking for adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So
For whatever comes your way.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you were in there for 7 years.
Yeah, I ended up in the Coast Guard for 7 years.
Uh,
I mean, I still try to play music. I think it was this point in time, I really kind of started to develop my solo trip, because I don't know that, I was out in California for a while, and it seemed like out there everyone was really more into fashion and things like that.
we're talking about the 80s,
Yeah, more
1980.
into
Yeah.
fashion than
Music.
just music, except for like Los Lobos or something like that. But everyone else, it was just like, you had the hair guys, whatever, or like in the blues, you had all the shark skin suit guys and all that dressing up like the '50s, man.
Mhm.
And I'm like 6'5", and none of that stuff fits me anyway, man.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, this ain't working.
Yeah.
So that's when I really kind of started developing my solo trip back then, like to 83, 84. I started to sell off uh, instruments, my electric guitars, solid bodies, and so I started selling them off and buying a bunch of old acoustic guitars and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And that kind of continued for a good while, and then I went to Coast Guard. Uh, I was still trying to play. I'd play wherever I was living at the time, just go play some clubs, whatever, things like that.
Hmm.
And I was stationed in Mississippi for 3.5 years, and
Now you
just
learned all this stuff because when I look at listen to you play your acoustic, and it's like a real respect for the older sounds. It
yeah,
so
I
how do
don't, I just the thing for me was, just trying to make as much sound as I could by myself.
yes, yes,
Like the the
but it sounded like the real stuff though, and coming from a young kid because you're still a young kid. Compa-
well, yeah, but see, man, all those guys were young kids too back when they were first started making records.
Yeah,
I had a friend Henry Townsend who lived to be like 96 years old, but
yeah,
he made his first records when he was 19 years old.
yeah. And I was
And
like, what,
just
19?
just insane.
Yeah. And you learn that your ear is great. That everything you kind of vibed, the sounds that you grew up on, and the sounds that all the Delta stuff, the hill country stuff, that was just being exposed to it and it's immersing yourself in it.
Yeah, I was tell people, I learned from osmosis
Yeah.
because because like I had a
All that
thing where,
vibing. Yeah.
whatever I was into, I'd go to bed and listen to it at night and keep
Hmm.
that going, and then maybe, a few weeks later, I would
It'll
pick
show up.
up a, a lick,
Hmm.
or so just a lick,
Yeah.
not everything, just a lick, and kind of build off of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I call that vibing. I'm vibing. I don't necessarily. I don't want to. I'm not gonna learn 15 minutes of something.
You're not gonna learn. I'm not gonna learn eruption, but
Right. Right.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
care.
We have, we
So,
have to we have to get to that too,
yeah.
actually. But
Yeah, yeah, we
yeah,
will. We absolutely will. So
yeah,
you're the '80s. Most of the '80s was you in your solo acoustic, finding yourself, and also
yeah,
started
uh,
singing. Then,
yeah, yeah. Sure. Trying to get it together to sing, and get more confident with that, which was a funny thing because I think it really scares a lot of people. I was just thinking about my friend Brian from the band Critical Mass,
Mhm.
who he says nowadays he can't even hear, like he's deaf. But I was thinking, like, back in those days when I was 17, 18 years old, back when we were, I thought it took a lot of nerve for, especially like for a guy. It took a lot of nerve for a guy to decide he was gonna like be the lead singer in a band, like
Of
that. I
course.
mean, this is not like uh this is not like bad punk rock where it's just screaming or whatever.
Right.
This is like being the lead singer in a band, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it took a lot of nerve back then to do something
It
like
still
that.
does.
I guess so, yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah. It's still not what I'm saying for kids. That's the one they don't want to admit that they sing
Yeah.
because it
Yeah, yeah, right.
leaves you vulnerable. There's vulnerable to be there's vulnerability that happens.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, like Keith Richards, man, was a choir boy,
Yeah.
uh, and he talks about it like, that it was really, formative, important thing for him. That, I mean, he talks about singing before the Queen when he was like a preteen or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it's just like me being in the Glee Club in the fifth grade, man.
Yeah. Do you
I didn't realize it at the time.
yeah, collect all those experiences you can because it's like they're gonna come out in weird ways. Yeah. So Eddie Van Halen.
Oh yeah, come on, man.
Eddie Van Halen was you was talking about Eddie Van Halen. So he's an influence you're influenced by him in ways that uh
That no one else is.
yeah,
Yeah,
in ways that people might not know about. So let's talk about some Eddie Van Halen.
yeah. I mean, when this is a funny thing, when Van Halen came out, the first thing was, the first big hit was a cover
Yeah.
that I already knew because my brothers were rocking rockers from the '60s.
Yeah.
So I knew about the Kinks already. A lot of my classmates who didn't have older siblings, whatever, they didn't know about the Kinks, and they thought you really got me. It was something new, fresh, and whatever. So I was a little cynical about the whole thing.
Mhm.
Um, and and then he kind of brought that whole classical element into it, and I was just like, well, that's not really rock and roll, man. you know, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
like, well, that ain't really rock and roll. That's pretty cool playing and innovation and everything, but that don't rock, you know. Um, so yeah, I didn't get into that. The thing about him though is that he had this absolutely killer rhythm guitar player, uh, absolutely just killer riffs that he would come up with, and this is aside from all that
Yeah.
eruption, all
Yeah.
that stuff. I mean, just the riffs and you
There
know,
there are parts of them that sound like a swing band. The rhythm
just
section.
just
Yeah.
just insane. So I mean, that, and the tone, especially the first two records, the tone is just not that kind of knock you out. But the attitude, everything it was all very cool. I didn't get into the playing the wheedly stuff. I
Dweedly
just
dweedly.
was not gonna work for me.
Yeah.
And I came along at that time. I was like prime age for shred to be a thing. So I could have gone either way with it. But uh, really, what happened back then was like it's like three cats kind of came out, and um, I felt kind of influenced me away from that. Was one was Mike Campbell. Um, Two was like Elliot Easton from the Cars, and Honeyman Scott from the Pretenders,
Yes.
where these cats are like they're coming out, they're playing solo. It's like 20 seconds of just genius
Yeah.
or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that's the way to go with it. I mean, and that's what like Albert King and all these cats were showing everybody for the last 30 years. You know,
Yeah.
um, and I saw Albert King when I was 15. I'll never forget that. But anyway, so the Van Halen, yeah, it wasn't the playing stuff that got me, man. It was the guitar tinkering,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, wait a minute, man. This guy is, he can't get what he wants from a
Ah.
certain guitar off the rack or something. So he's got to kind of create it himself, whatever. So I'm looking at that and looking at him tearing guitars apart and all that, and I was just like, yeah, man, that's for me, you know. And it was really a eye opener.
Kind of like the Les Paul of a later generation. He's kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
later
He
generation.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really eye opener for me. It started me to messing around with pickups and uh, repair. That's what my friend Rob had found a guitar, a Galanti offset guitar in the trash that had been burned and broken pickups and stuff. And I started learning how to repair pickups, rewind pickups, all that kind of thing, and just set me on my way with that.
Hmm. So your guitars, like, here's another thing that if you ever do any like YouTube watching of you, there's rarely a time where two guitars make an appearance. Do you customize all your guitars?
Well, I don't know if I customize them so much. I
Rewire
mean,
pickup.
yeah, I mean,
That's a thing.
uh, I find a guitar suited for a certain purpose or whatever, and
Hmm.
assign it to this or that. Like it might be a thing to where this one gets assigned to open G or open D or whatever, or this one's going to get a Bigsby, or this one's going to get a P90 or whatever kind of thing like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just a lot of that. I mean, one, the Van Halen sort of planted the seed. The two part of that was in the early '90s when I landed in a place called Subway Guitars in Berkeley. That was like this sort of commie recycling guitar store.
Hmm.
I don't know if you ever heard of it, but I ended up in there, and that's where I really got into learning guitar mechanics. And
Where you
and
were working there?
yeah, but like unofficially, because like I was in the Coast Guard still,
Okay.
and I would just go there and hang out on my days off, and then Fat Dog, the owner, would just be like, "Well, go back in the shop and check this out or whatever." I think first thing. happened. I may have fixed a couple of amps in there or something, and then it was like the next thing I was just back in the shop,
Yeah, we should note that in the Coast Guard, you were an electronics technician by now.
Yeah, yeah. In 1989, I went to electronics technician school in Governor's Island, New York City,
Hmm.
and I was there from October of '89 until my birthday, March 2nd of '90, and then '90 I was sent out to California to uh, work on these tube radio transmitters
Hmm.
that were used for search and rescue operations in the Pacific.
Hmm.
And so these 10,000-watt tube radio transmitters, basically like working on a giant guitar amp or
Yeah.
something.
Hmm.
So that I did that for 3.5 years, and gave me a little bit of experience on fixing a Marshall in a basement. You know.
Yeah. Fixing everything. Yeah, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
So, in the '90s, what were you doing? You were in the Coast Guard, so you're still gigging. You're still doing.
Yeah, man. I
You're
I
still.
was well, I was out in the Bay Area, stationed out in the Bay Area. So my work hours were very cool. Actually, it was like I did these cycles of 48 hours on, and then no, I did like cycles of 2 days of work. I worked 12-hour shifts. I do 2 days of work, and then I'm off for 48 hours, and then I come back in, do 2 more days of work, and then I'm off for 72 hours. And that's kind of how my work my work week went for 3 years.
Okay.
So it's really cool. So my days off, I would head over to Berkeley and hang out a lot at the guitar store,
Hmm.
and I started going to a lot of open mic nights over there, and
Okay.
I'd perform, sign up, sit there all night
Hmm.
to play two songs.
Yeah.
And the open mic nights turned into, hey, you like to do a gig? So like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then those turned into, hey, would you like to appear at such and such blues festival? Well, I met while in the guitar store, I met a lot of people of note there, because like it's the place where it's kind of speakeasy, word of mouth.
Okay.
First person I really met there was Joe Louis Walker, um, and he kind of took a liking to me, and he would have some special gigs every now and then, like we would do, private house gigs, whatever,
Hmm.
little trio, like two guitars, harmonicas, and upright bass,
Hmm.
and which was really cool. That kind of stuff. And then because he knew that I'd kind of by then kind of developed my acoustic thing going on as well. So he and I would do these acoustic gigs now and then, and he was influential in getting my name to the producers of San Francisco Blues Festival, and that was like my first major festival in
Yeah.
'91. I was still in the service then, but so he got me kind of out there
Was
on the
that where
West Coast.
was that where you met Taj Mahal?
No, no, that was much later actually,
Okay.
but so there was that. I met Joe in there in Subway. Cuda used to come in there and get the odd axe and actually fixed an amp that he bought. Lindley would come in there because Cuda and Lindley were always buying up all the real oddball
All the
stuff.
cool stuff. So,
I met Lindley when I was 21 years old in Southern California back in '84 or something.
yeah.
But so yeah, those guys would come in there. Robert Cray band were usual customers.
uh,
John Fogerty, people like that.
it was a place
Dylan, even Dylan, man.
as movement, a place that had movement. It had sparks and
Yeah, but I mean, it was also just like the the local punks would come in there who, couldn't play a lick but wanted a guitar. Local punks would come in there and get a guitar to start off on,
The synergy.
whatever too. It
Yeah.
was just that kind of
Placement.
place.
That's
You could
wonderful.
get strings. I think strings were like $2 for a set, because I thought I would buy like these bulk strings and just have them in these tubes. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
what do you want? It wasn't like, oh, give me the D'Addario cryogenic whatever. It was, it wasn't any of that, man. It's just
Yeah.
like, string, generic proletariat. That's like I say, he was a commie, so it was the proletarian guitar store, basically.
It's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
I always support those kinds of stores. That is
yeah.
my uh
Well, if you ever go out to Berkeley, you have to go there, man.
yeah,
You'll love it.
that's a bucket list thing. So so you got you're you continually playing when you're at the open mics. When did you start getting into the songwriting aspect of all this? 'Cause you're a songwriter.
Ah, you know, I don't know. The funny thing is, I don't really think that started to happen for me until I'm gonna really say until the prospect of making records started to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't fancy myself as a son and like a lot of people do. I could name a few people who are just that's all they do all day. Like
Oh yeah.
Jay Farrar, for instance, from Sunvolt. Man, he'll be in the van and he'll be there with the notepad all day long. If
Yeah.
he's not driving, he's writing.
Right.
You know, and uh, which I'm very impressed by. I never fancied myself as a songwriter. It just was something that started to happen, that had to happen. I think once the prospect of making record came
So
about.
what your first songs got recorded on album?
Yeah,
That's bizarre.
yeah, it kind of
You hear
was.
about these stories about how my first 100 songs weren't any good and
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Well, I don't know that mine were any good, but
No, that's not true.
I mean, it what it boils down to again, is the opportunity to make records. I don't think they have to be good, just I mean,
Mhm.
it's it's an extra if they are,
Yeah.
but I guess the more important thing is to just try and get your song
Yeah.
out there,
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad.
You don't have to be
That's
perfect. Don't wait till it's perfect. So,
although yeah, I like to wait till it's perfect, but
yeah,
yeah.
I'd never leave the bedroom.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I never leave the practice room, whatever. So, so you got to go. Yeah, I don't know. So, so when did you let's talk about you Taj Mahal. You met Taj Mahal at some point.
Oh yeah, so we have to get to like the point of the first record, and I still was in that cycle of uh doing whatever job. I ended up with a job in a record store, which was like the worst job I ever had. I hated the job. It should have been fun because it was a record store, but it wasn't. The guy that ran the store tried to kind of run it in this whole militaristic fashion, and I was like, no, no, no. I was in the real military for 7 years, so I don't need that. Did that. I cut trees for a while for like a tree removal service, and I'm still doing gigs still, and that's not really a good profession for the hands, but I'm still doing it, like not professionally, but for my own. We have a tree farm down in Mississippi, man, so I'm always cutting trees.
Okay.
But that did that stuff. So I'm doing all that, and still, just trying to make some connections here and there, still playing around. I had a friend who was booking opening acts for a jazz club called Yoshi's out in the Bay Area,
Mhm.
and Taj Mahal was doing like a weekend stand there, I think, and so he booked me to open those shows,
Okay.
and then I met some people there who were conspiring conspiring to do a stage play about the life of Satchel Paige, and one of them was Taj's tour manager, and these two guys worked together, and they decided to take me on as like a management client,
Hmm.
and somehow they were able to get get the attention of the guy at Sony who was in charge of the newly formed OK imprint label.
Yeah. Which
And
sounds like an old record label,
yeah, yeah, right.
like the 30s or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it was part of the Columbia conglomerate, just something they decided to revive.
Okay.
So so yeah, so that happened, and that was more or less how my Taj Mahal connection happened, and it was kind of like, yeah, well, we get we'll get Taj to kind of play it on your record, and you'll make millions, right? But, so yeah, that's how I met Taj, and we of course hit it off very well, and he was a mentor before I even knew him, more
Okay.
or less. My grandma turned me on to him when I was about 5 or 6
Right.
or something, but
You always had blues up in the house, listening to the blues.
yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 for
That's what your
sure.
parents were
Yeah.
into.
I mean, remember my family's from Mississippi, so wherever we went, that kind of went along.
Yeah.
Oh, I went to see BB King with my parents when I was 15 years old.
Uh-huh.
Parents, Bobby Bland and BB King with my parents was like a big deal on a
Uh-huh.
Sunday night, and I was 16, 1979.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, so Taj came on and did a couple of tunes on the record, but yeah, I mean we've been able to stay pretty tight. He sends me YouTube links every day of whatever like music he's listening to that day.
All right.
It's I just get a constant stream of YouTube links from him.
Is it a mixture of stuff?
Most of it's just some really hardcore blues,
Okay.
uh, actually,
Okay.
and I, I it just hit me that like what I'm it's probably a purpose involved. I think you might you might see a Taj Mahal playlist from me
Okay.
at some point soon, I think, because I need to catalog all this information that he's
He's
sending me.
sending you.
Yeah,
Okay.
every I mean, it's funny too because it'll be at like 2 o'clock this morning. It was like 2 o'clock this morning. I hear, oh, I just got a text. What is it? Oh, it's Tosh and YouTube links.
Whatever. That's rock star
That's
stuff right
that's
there.
that's pretty damn awesome.
Yeah.
You
2 o'clock in the morning,
couldn't
Tosh
have told me.
texting you.
Yeah, you couldn't have told me when I was 15 years old
Yeah.
that this was happening. So.
So okay, so we when did you get back to electric?
Yeah, that's interesting too, right? I would say um, the the catalyst um, was, in '96 I did a tour. I was on a tour, a traveling festival called the Further Festival, and which was myself, Hot Tuna, Los Lobos, and some residual Grateful Dead bands, Bob Weir's band, Mickey Hart's band, kind of thing, you know. So I was on that tour for 52 days, and I was on the road with Los Lobos for 52 days, and uh, I was like, oh yeah, wait a minute, I used to play electric guitar. I was I was watching David Dalgo for 52 days, man, you know, and I'm just like, man, there it is right there. There's your Peter Green or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, after a
And they're
couple
fans of
months on it,
they're fans of it all, a lot of stuff too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So after a couple of months on the road with them, I was like, man, I gotta get that electric guitar back, you know,
Yeah.
get back into that. So that's where that's I think that's what that was mostly where it kind of happened.
Okay. And getting into a power trio situation. Did you ever do power trios before? Like back in the day?
Well, I don't know about the power part. I mean, it's just I guess it is because it's loud, but you know, it's because it's just the trio just because that's all I basically can afford, you know. Um and
Guitar, bass, and
what, you know, the favorite bands were all true, you know, Hendrix and Cream, and then Free and Zeppelin were just trios with a singer, you
yep.
know.
Hmm.
So guess well, if I'm singing, all right, you know.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I mean, it's an affordable format, you know,
Yeah.
somewhat affordable format.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
still
So the
go broke for it.
album that you put out, I guess it was 2005 ish. It was Electric. I'm thinking. Uh,
No motivational speaker.
yeah, that's it. Yep,
Yeah.
that was wonderful. Was that some of your first stuff? Like,
Sorry.
was that some of your first stuff as an Electric? When did you first?
No, 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 no. I mean, like the second album, and what was that? 98. You know,
Okay.
there was quite a bit there, and the third album as well. You know,
Okay.
but yeah. I mean, that was the one where it was like point of no return. I guess. You know, I don't know.
Say again.
Um, I, I guess motivational speaker was sort of like the point of no
Yeah.
return. You know, which I haven't been asked by anyone to make another record since, but now, you know, everything's kind of changed. That whole label thing is not what it used to be. It used to be something that we aspired
Yeah.
to uh to work on, like proficiency and getting good and all that stuff, and then maybe you'd get a record deal. And
Signed.
but yeah, but all that went out the window with technology
Yeah.
being being what it is. So Joe Schmo is making a record in his closet now,
Mhm.
and so it's just kind of different. You have to kind of rethink how to do all this stuff.
Which is good and bad.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's
yeah,
like I prefer to
exactly.
probably good. It's like you can be what you. I don't know. The machinery is there, but also the machine. Yeah, I don't know. It's good and bad.
And for me, in my case, you know, when I do try to negotiate, work with labels, it's usually they want to kind of play it safe and, well, if you could just do a more traditional, stripped down blues, traditional, blah blah blah. I'm like, nah, that's not what I'm gonna do.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
we'll move along.
that's that's what I'm saying. You're in a you can choose what you want to be.
Well, maybe, I guess, you know, I mean, all that stuff kind of boils down to like to where, you know, when it comes to like doing tours, you know, it's like, oh well, promoters, you know, we got anything new coming out? You know, well, nah, not right now. But so the
Mhm.
double edge to that.
Yeah. So your muscle theory, when did that start? Where
I don't know, 20 years ago or something, you know,
okay.
just evolve of different names as come up with different names. The muscle theory actually comes from back in the 80s, Jimmy the Greek odds maker, Jimmy the Greek Snyder, made the comment. Uh, it's about, I think it's about like it's like on the NBA broadcast or something. Made the comment something about black people were bred for work and have a special muscle for jumping, and that's why they're so good at basketball and all. So then he got fired
Uh-huh.
right after that. But then, like Jesse Jackson and someone else like petitioned to get him his job back because he was only telling the truth. So I think he did get maybe got reinstated or something. But that just became a big joke, and it was originally Alvin Youngblood Hart's Greek muscle theory because of Jimmy the Greek.
Yeah.
But 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 that was too long, so we just kind of
Yeah.
decided to drop it. So that's what it's been. And it was just something I tried to create to make the designation between the solo versus the
Yeah.
band, a la Neil Young and Crazy Horse and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even that concept is just like, you know.
So is that the band that gets you playing with Thin Lizzy and or guys from the Thin Lizzy band, like Gary Moore and or the Brian Downey? And
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think of how that happened. Well, we were playing at some festival in England. I think I met Gary Moore through Otis Taylor actually,
okay.
because Otis was playing in England, and he met Gary over there and was talking about me. And Gary, was a big student of the blues and everything, so he had kind of heard about me. But I went over there to work on one of Otis's projects, and Gary came out that night, and we just kind of started talking, hanging out. We had dinner and stuff. And so the next time I saw him was we were playing. My band was playing at a festival in England, and he got there early to check us out, and he really dug it. And we were talking, and he understood the fact that I was a big Lizzie fan and this and that, whatever. So he invited me to sit in with him that night,
Mhm.
and it just so happened Brian Downey was playing drums in his band that at that point in time. So yeah, we kind of struck up a relationship, and it was I guess a year later he asked me to come, you know, be the opening act for a German tour that he was doing. So that was really cool.
How was he? How was he? Was he?
I mean, it's very cool. I mean, he of course loved the fact that I was just a Lizzie head, and he would every night pretty much want me to come over to his dressing room and get the Guinness. He wasn't drinking the Guinness that they leave in his dressing room, so he'd give it to me, and he's like, "Alvin, you come get the Guinness, right?" So I was like, "Yeah, I'll come get it," and so I'd come over there and get it. And meanwhile, he'd be there with like some little amp like this, and and he's going to town, man. Just he says, "You remember this?" And he's playing Black Rose or something. He says, "Yeah, man, Scott couldn't play all this stuff, so I had to do it." And he's all, um, but yeah, he loved to tell Lizzie tales to me and stuff while giving me the Guinness and everything.
Uh-huh.
It's really cool. And every night, uh, when we went on, he would gather his entourage and come out and check out our first 4 or 5 songs.
Mhm.
So it's really cool. And then he'd have me sit in along the way on the tour and stuff, which was funny. I asked our bass player Fabio. I said, "Well, how did it sound?" He said, "Like Van Halen playing with Albert King."
Which is actually a
Uh,
compliment.
I, I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'll take that."
Yeah, that's a compliment. So garage, like, if you ever acknowledge garage, I think you have to. Garage is a cool, like something you vibe from.
Well, yeah, I mean, like,
Garage,
whatever our version of it
whole
was like,
garage.
you know, I mean, like, I definitely had uh was, did good on the MC5 and stuff like that as a
Yeah,
youth, you know.
yeah.
Um,
So whenever else is listening to Van Halen, as you were saying,
yeah, 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 yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah,
this
exactly.
you have this garage kind of thing going on. I say that it's like a for those who don't kind of know, that garage is kind of like not it's not punk, it's pre-punk, and it's kind of like
Well,
all,
here was my
all the
thing.
roughness in
Like,
there. Keep the rock and
here's
roll.
my thing.
Go ahead.
The real punk rock don't have to say it is.
Right,
That's
right.
like all the real good, and then you dig up all these '60s records where things you just never heard. Then I got into like the Sonics and stuff like that.
Mhm.
From Seattle,
Yeah,
were absolutely insane. You know, things like that. The Sonics, the MC5, like even like the early MC5 before they really uh started turning out. It's just um it was the
reworked R&B.
true essence of punk.
Yes,
Really, man.
yes. But yeah, yeah. So South Memphis String Band.
Oh my goodness, doing the homework. Uh,
So your involvement with a trio of was it was it Jimbo and then Jim
Jimbo Mathis and Luther Dickinson. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know whose idea that was. It was not mine. I can guarantee you it was not.
okay.
But w- they are the three of us. I guess are just a cast of characters, man. That they're like, well, let's try this.
Yeah.
And
That's what's cool though. That's what's neat.
and yeah, we had a good little thing going on there for a minute. We like to say we broke up. We didn't really break up. We just went back to doing our regular schedule stuff. But um, I always enjoyed trying to do stuff with those guys.
Yeah.
Because we're just funny, and we involve a lot of satire and stereotype and satire of stereotype and all that all that kind of stuff, man.
Uh,
I mean, I think some things, some of the stuff, that we're into, like with sensitivity levels now and things, maybe it wouldn't fly.
yeah.
I remember we did something a few one of the things we did, and someone someone in the camp, not us, not the musicians, but
Uh-huh.
someone was worried about, well, what about the repercussions of blah blah blah. This was before like true cancel culture kind of took off.
Right.
It's like, yeah, we don't care.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't care if we get canceled
Yeah. But it's
because we're acoustic punks, whatever. So that was our thing.
yeah. So you're in this and you're all I see you play mandolin, I see you play whatever it is. In other
Yeah.
words, whatever you grab anything that yeah, that's neat. That's like
Yeah, that was the thing where it's like,
more
all
than
right, well, you play mandolin on this, or I'll play harmonica on that or whatever.
yeah.
And
Are
that's
are you the
a lot
Jimmy
of fun.
Page or are you the John Paul Jones? Get taking all
Yeah,
the instruments. But
yeah. Well, with that band, I think we all are, just kind of,
just move it around.
yeah, yeah. Which was a lot. That was a lot of fun.
So you
Some lady said one time, we played this show in North Carolina, and I think I think I think Jimbo was packing up, loading out, and Luther and I were in the lobby or something selling merch. And a lady says to us, uh, "Is that tension on stage for real?" so you know, and we just said, "Oh yeah, it is real." You know,
Yeah.
there's some kind of like uh rumor started somehow that like Jimbo and I don't like each other.
Yeah.
Some kind of,
That,
which is totally false, but we just kind of run with it.
yeah. Well, I saw the videos that you talking about. It's
You
like you can't. Yeah, yeah, that's not. So, what are you doing now? What
know?
does the future
hey,
have in store?
hey, now I'm just getting back to work after like what, a 2-year layoff. Well,
Yeah.
so
Was COVID good for you,
yeah,
or was it bad?
no, it was not good for me at all. I was in this 11-year relationship that broke off through COVID, over COVID, or during like shutdown, whatever, and then so there was that, there was the money struggle, all that kind of stuff. So nah, it was not good. People always, everybody says, "Oh yeah, it's a good time to create." Man, I didn't create nothing, really. Maybe I don't even know if, yeah, I may have put together a couple of cool guitars or something, but um, like, no hit songs came out of it or any of that.
Uh,
So no.
so you're ready. You're back on the road with acoustic and um band shows.
Yeah, 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 man, it's great. I went over to England, and did a few band shows, about 4 or 5 band shows, and then like 2 weeks solo, 2 or 3 weeks solo. Came back here and put the band on the road, and just had a good little run, aside from that water pump. But other than that, it's good.
Which you repaired.
Yeah, I did. You know,
That's you. That
my s-
you're a
my
different.
son's a mechanic, so
You're a different man than me for many reasons, but that's what you can repair the car you're traveling in. Yeah,
well, I mean, I'm not always confident about it, but sometimes I just feel like I have to go for it.
yeah,
I'm not that uh, uninformed about it either. So
yeah. So you're back on the road, with the band, and also you have your solo shows as well.
yeah.
Anything else?
No, nothing I can talk about at this point in time, man. Something really cool's about to happen as
I think I know
far as
what it
just a
is, but I'll keep my mouth shut because
road trip, but I can't really talk about it right
yes.
now because it's not in stone yet.
Well, thank you, Alvin, for this. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, yeah, you bet.
Got-
This was good
We got
fun.
got your story. You're an inspiration to me. I see lots of stuff yeah, I'm just inspired by everything you do. Um, the ultimate, as I said, Alvin Youngblood Hart for me represented the ultimate guitar nerd on so many levels. The fact that you like cool guitars too. We never even mentioned that. Like I see you
Uh,
playing like the Ibanez 70s Carina style flying V,
uh,
and but you've been an inspiration, and want to thank you. Want to thank everybody. Please like, subscribe, share, and be good to each other. Be good to each other. See ya. Peace.
all right. Thank you.